Alright folks, I'm just gonna get stuck into these questions, I think. Why are you so pretty? I'm not. Will you take Noob to Summonats? This thing could not do a skid to save its life, okay? I will probably just snap axles. Can you get me pregnant, please? I mean, I don't have my balls anymore, but we can give it a red hot go. We can try. Most frustrating part of the build. Most frustrating part of this build, I'd have to say, was the whole engineering dilemma. That fiasco was a freaking nightmare. And I don't look forward to ever having to engineer another car. So thank you, Dylan, for those 4 starting questions. Rolly has asked, what car do you miss, any make or model, and you regret selling after owning? I'd have to say my GS131. I really regret selling that Crown. That thing was awesome. It had a 1G GZE, which is a 2-litre 6-cylinder supercharged. It was just a wacky motor. I loved it. Such a cool car. I miss my Tarago. I really shouldn't have sold my Tarago. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. So I had an RA40 Coupe as well, which was like a burgundy color with an 18R GEU in it. That was an awesome car. I never sold that. I actually hit a Kangaroo and wrote it off. Back then I didn't have the skills to fix it, but now I probably could have. So I regret scrapping that. Ronda, the HJ60, that was pretty cool 4B. Yeah, I regret getting rid of that. One of my biggest regrets ever is actually selling my Valiant. I've only got one photo of it and it's not a very good photo. It was a VG Coupe, so I definitely regret selling that. Scott has asked, cruise to All Japan Day from Engel Farm. I would like to say yes, but also I know I totally missed it a couple months ago. Sorry. Cleo asked, when are you coming to SD? Unfortunately, probably never. I'm too broke for that. I have cars as a hobby. Matthew has asked, is the console factory for RA40? I've never seen one of those equalizers. Let me explain. This is a Series A console, so it is factory, but all I've done is cut out the surround. While the console itself is factory, the equalizer is not. Paul has asked, is that an OK monitor light? And yes it is. Aaron has asked if this is a tiny surveillance camera, but no, it's literally a cigarette lighter. It's just very 80s, you know, it's literally cigarette lighter inception. Yo, we heard you like cigarette lighters, so we put a cigarette lighter in your cigarette lighter so you can light your cigarettes in your cigarette lighter. Now, this one isn't a question, but Jake said, lol, I see your kill switch. And Jake, buddy, that is not a kill switch. Come on, I would hide a kill switch in a better spot than that. Give me some credit. Stephen has asked, I take it everything was a success and nothing took a turd for the worst. So this is in reference to me putting a post up a couple days or the day before All Japan Day saying I got gastro. And no, Stephen, I did not shit myself and I made it to All Japan Day, no worries. Thank you. Now, this is a question I actually get asked by people quite a lot. It's, whoa, what engine do you have? So Josh, it is a 3T GTE. It is the first twin cam turbo engine produced in Japan. Doesn't run an intercooler from factory. This is basically a factory setup, the entire thing. So these crossover pipes and everything are all original. Bloody awesome motor. Do recommend. Although finding parts is starting to get a bit difficult, but I do have a stockpile of parts and all those boxes over there. Dallas, when OnlyFans coming? Asking for myself. Of course you are, Dallas. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. That's kind of funny because I'm trans and I'm a parent, but anyway. So I was actually going to make an OnlyFans like a year or so ago to fund my surgeries and things like that, you know, like pay for my transition. I thought it'd be a good idea. I get plenty of chasers messaging me, telling me that they want to have sex with me, so I thought I might as well ask for money, but I ended up getting a job and then I didn't need to do it. I've been able to fund things, no worries. So yeah, OnlyFans, maybe in the future. Shazad, I may have said that incorrectly, but they said, car turned a man into a fucking woman, question mark. Yes, Salikas will turn you transgender, so be careful. Joking aside, I actually have met 3 other trans women in my life that are into second gens. In fact, that burgundy, maroony coloured Celica I mentioned earlier in the video, I bought that from a trans woman. And this was before I even knew that I was trans. And I have 2 friends that have second gens that are trans. So, I don't know, maybe it's something about RA40s. So be careful, if you're into RA40s, you might actually be a girl. Corey has asked, why this dude wearing a dress? What the fuck? First of all, fuck you. Second of all, I'm transgender. I'm a trans woman. I'm sorry that I have a deep voice, right? I'm a bit of a work in progress. Do you know how expensive this shit is? Right? Vocal surgery, 8K. Orchiectomy, 8K. Facial surgery, 22K. Do you want me to keep going? I'm trying to fund this shit, right? Corey fucks. Allegedly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
This is in reference to my awesome boots. Carrie has said, I can't even drive Hilush, which is her Hilux, with work boots on, so I drive barefoot most of the year. Can you even feel the pedals in those boots? I can't feel the pedals, but I can drive. Pedal feel is not there at all. Definitely can't heel toe, but I can totally drive my car with those big fuck off boots. Jeff has said, if you could pick any Toyota, what model Corolla would you buy? You're probably expecting me to say AE86, but no. See, the hype of Initial D has killed the AE86 for me. I'd probably get something weird, something strange like a T47 or, I don't know, even earlier generation Sprinters or Truenos. Do they count as a Corolla? Technically they're a Toyota Sprinter, or badged as a Toyota Sprinter. I'm gonna just say they're a Corolla. They're an E-chassis. Chris has asked, is it so bad to have a car stay original from new? No, it's not. It just doesn't float my goat. I prefer modified cars. It's just how it is. And quite honestly, my GT, my TA45, that I'm gonna keep relatively original, other than maybe some wheels and some lowering. But that's just because I find cars more aesthetically pleasing when they're lower on nice wheels. And you know, not everybody has to think that way. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion of what looks good on a car. So, my point is, I don't have anything against people that are into completely original cars or restorations or anything like that. Like this, you know, it's kind of cool seeing cars getting around that still are how they left the factory. And like restorations, I feel like take a hell of a lot more patience and skill to pull off than just modifying shit. Sticking to something original is way more difficult than just fucking changing shit. That's my thoughts on it anyway. Jeff has asked another question. If I could start again and choose any car, what would it have been? Gosh, start again for the build? I'm assuming you mean like start the entire build again. Honestly, the smart choice would be to just rock a Corolla, if I'm honest. There's just way more aftermarket support for Corollas. I would be dumb to choose anything else if I was doing a build specifically for performance. I mean, another option would probably be a first gen Celica. They have a bit more aftermarket support than RA40s. So that would probably be another good choice. So Jake has asked, what are some things I wish I did or didn't do with the Celica from the beginning? Honestly, I've said this before, I've said this many times, the flares. Flares are one of those things that have been a regret of mine on this car for a very long time, and they're not something that's easily undone either. But you know, when I was young and dumb and full of cum, I thought it'd be a cool idea to have sick bolt-on flares, you know, like Rocket Bunny was like the in thing at the time. Basically, I was just being a fucking poser. And like, sure, they don't look too bad at the moment, especially after painting them black. That was also a question, by the way, what color did I paint the flares? Black. So yeah, they don't look bad currently, especially now that I've cleaned them up and fixed them and stuff like that, but they are a big regret. This car had no rust in the arches. I had no real reason to go cutting it up and cutting the rear arch out, and I did it just for looks, and like I shouldn't have, really. I shouldn't have, it was dumb. In saying that, the black on red of this car has sort of, in a way, become iconic. But if I could go back in time though, if I could go back in time, I would undo the flares and just rock some rolled guards with some slightly smaller wheels. Now that I'm talking about unnecessarily hacking up my car, I could say the same thing about this front end. The round headlights were not necessary at all. I literally did it because I have some weird fetish for round headlights. They're just fucking sexy. They turn me on. The wheel, which is currently upside down, is out of a TT141 Corona. So that's twin cam turbo model Corona. It's the same Corona that runs the same engine that is in this thing. So I thought it'd be cool to run the same steering wheel. Rob asked, what did I fill the guard in with after I cut the rear arches out? Because naturally there'd be a gap between the two seams. So what I've actually done is I've welded up the seams and put seam sealant between them. And it's done the job for the last 7 years. So Andrew has asked why I picked this particular body style of Celica. So when I was a teenager, I was actually on the hunt for a first gen Celica. The problem is, I couldn't find a decent one that was exactly what I wanted for, you know, a decent price. I ended up selling my Valiant, my VG Valiant, the one I said I regretted earlier, and using that money, $3,000, it's not much for a Valiant back then. So I ended up using that money from the Valiant to hunt for a car. I knew of the existence of RA40s, but wasn't super keen on the liftbacks. It was just pure chance that I found this particular coupe in an ad that had been up for months, and I couldn't work out why nobody bought the car. It was an RA40 coupe, the more desired model, a Series B coupe. And it had an 18RG in it, and I couldn't fathom why nobody bought it. It was up for $4,500. I could probably still find the ad. If I can find the ad, I'll put it in the video just to show you. But I'm pretty sure it was up for $4,000 or $4,500. I managed to talk the guy down to $2,800. Yeah, that was how I bought Noob. The very first mod I did to her was slap some Noob plates on her. Jeremy actually asked a pretty good question, and that is, do I have any other interests outside of, or automotive interests outside of old Celicas? So, I mean, I have a thing for Japanese cars of all makes and models, really. I may be obsessed with second-gen Celicas most. Anything old Toyota, a few old Datsuns, Mazdas, things like that. The thing is, like, old Mazdas are unobtainium and they're expensive, especially anything rotary. Datsuns aren't as expensive as Mazdas, but they're definitely up there. For some reason, Toyotas are just affordable, you know? I feel like Toyotas are just the affordable classic Japanese car, and that's why I'm into them. But if I had an automotive interest outside of Japanese cars, believe it or not, I do like some Aussie cars.
Why?
And this leads on from your other question there. Do I have any dream cars that aren't like a Japanese vehicle? Michael McCarthy actually commented and got it spot on because he knows I have a soft spot for XB Falcons. I have a soft spot for Falcons because my dad owned one for a while there. I don't really talk to my dad anymore since coming out trans and having a few arguments and falling outs and stuff, but I still have a soft spot for XB Falcons, that's for sure. Something about the sound of a 351 Cleveland just makes me pitch tents and skirts, seriously. I don't know, they're just a nice sounding V8. They're a really nice sounding V8, and I'm not sure if that's just nostalgia, if that's just 13-year-old me looking back at cruising around, thinking I was the coolest kid getting picked up from school in an XB Falcon. It could just be nostalgia. And other than Falcons, I'd probably have to say Valiants as well. You know, interestingly, before getting into Celicas, I was nearly an escort person. And I don't mean escort as in a hooker, although been there. But yeah, I was nearly into Ford Escorts. I very nearly bought a Mark I panel van when I was a teenager. It was so freaking rusty. It was the only thing that put me off of it, and actually I was looking at it at the same time as looking at this coupe. I nearly chose a rusty as hell Mark 1 Escort panel van over Noob. If that had happened, I imagine I would have been far more into Escorts than Celicas. I went against it because of how rusty it was, and I also wanted something I could drive straight away, which is why I opted for the Celica over the Escort. But I still love Escorts, Mark 1s and Mark 2s in particular. I also nearly got a Mark 2 when I was in high school. A friend of mine, Mel, her dad had an Escort sitting in the backyard, and I asked about it, and he was a gamer. He was a gamer like me, so I got on pretty well with her dad. And he wanted the God of War PSP pack in exchange for the Escort. He said if I go get him that PSP pack, I can have the Escort. The only reason I could not do it is because my dad wouldn't let me get the Escort. Dad didn't want another car in the frickin' yard, and it's like, really, that's cheap. That's like $200-300 for a teenager. That's actually affordable. I could have driven the Celica around and had that as a project, but no, my dad ruined that one for me. So yeah, that was a really long-winded answer, but I hope it was a good enough answer for you there. I thought I'd save this question to last because it's pretty in depth, and I'm gonna just try to read it out here. Hendrik said, do you consider your chemical and physical alterations to add to what you have and increase joy, entertainment, and value in much the same way you do with Noob and the modifications that you do? Not only to that car, but many others. I'm gonna assume what they mean is, by chemical and physical alterations, is my transition. The short answer is yes, they give me much joy, probably more joy than the cars, honestly, because I'm finally starting to feel more and more comfortable in my body. You have to understand, like, I've been uncomfortable my entire life. Like, I've felt not right in my body my entire life. Ever since I was 4 or 5, I can remember thinking I was a girl, and, you know, my parents just like beat it into me that, no, you're a boy, you have to do boy things, and no, you can't grow your hair long, no, you can't get your ears pierced, no, you can't do this and that, and rah 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 rah. Back then I was little, I didn't know what trans was or what it meant or that it was even a thing, you know. I just got told that I had to act like a boy because apparently I was a boy. Parents doing that are the main reason that a lot of trans people end up growing up depressed and hating their lives, is because they don't let their kids express themselves how they should. And I often wonder how much happier I would have been in my life if I was able to actually transition from a young age. So as much as I'm depressed because of some of that, I'm happy that I get to do it now, you know. It's better than never. A lot of you cisgender folks probably don't really keep an eye on the news when it's related to trans people, but you know, it's hard at the moment. The world actively hates us. Laws are being introduced to basically screw us over, jail us or whatever in the US. Like, it's actually crazy. I get death threats like weekly just for being trans. Death threats, hate messages, messages of people telling me to go kill myself, messages saying that I should have my child taken away from me because I'm trans. Other than all that shit, and other than body dysphoria, dysmorphia playing up, I'm happier for sure. It does make me happy seeing progress. And, you know, I've been on HRT for 2 years now, taking a long time. It's tedious, but I'm starting to see my body is getting curvier, growing boobs, things like that. They all give me euphoria. They all make me happy. They make me happy in such a way that a car would never be able to. I'm gonna be real with you for a second. Like, I'm a bit of a shit poster, and I joke a lot about this transition and stuff like that, and, like, you know, I joke about not having balls anymore or whatever. Honestly, my orchiectomy, which is having my balls removed, was like the best thing that had happened to me other than becoming a mum. That was the most euphoric moment for me so far. And, you know, I no longer hate looking at myself in the mirror, you know. I no longer hate looking downstairs now. And the thing is, I have my vocal surgery coming up in the next 60 days at some point. And sometime later this year, I'm gonna have my facial surgery too. And after all these surgeries, I'm probably gonna be a hell of a lot more comfortable with myself. I'm probably going to have a lot more confidence, probably a higher self-esteem. I'm more emotional, sure, but I'm a hell of a lot happier than I was. Estrogen makes me cry a lot over some silly shit sometimes. That seal was barely in there. These seals with the metal on them fucking suck. But anyway, my wife has told me straight up that I'm much happier, I'm much more confident since transitioning. So yeah, I'd say the chemical and physical alterations definitely make me happy on a level that a car just can't. And then it makes me happy on a level that a lot of you probably aren't going to understand. And there's no real way I can put into words. There's no sentence, there's no paragraph, there's no string of words that will perfectly put into perspective how I feel, how dysphoria feels and all that. Unless you're trans, I think you're not going to understand. Hendrik, I'm really sorry for that drawn out answer there, but there you go. That's how I feel about it. I saved that question till last because I knew I'd have a lot to say on the subject. So anyway, folks, I think that'll do for the Q&A. That's all the questions everybody asked me. That's all the answers I can come up with on the spot here. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments or message me even, you know, I'm not fussed. If you're trans and you actually have questions about transition yourself, like shoot me a message, that's fine. I hope I gave you lot satisfying answers for your questions at least. But yeah, just thinking of it on the spot while I'm working on my car is it's hard. I never do scripted videos, so I sort of just wing it and say whatever I think at the time. I'm gonna finish this axle seal off and guess I'll see you in the next video. Catch us later.